Like never before in the country, a deputy president and a cabinet secretary are exchanging salvos over a matter that shouldn't even be in the public domain. But since it's out there, Kenyans are concerned about the number of officers deployed to VIPs and VVIPs. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i revealing that Deputy President William Ruto and his property is guarded by over 257 police officers. Meanwhile, the IEBC is now fully constituted, but is it ready and set to kick off preparations and deliver a free and fair election? We ask you no question of the day tonight. With IEBC being fully constituted, do you think they will hold a free and fair general elections? With IEBC being fully constituted, do you think they will hold a free and fair general elections? Speak to us through our WhatsApp number 0785-9395, 0785-939529. SMS us on 111 Switch TV Kenya and at Lincoln Obogo on all social media handles. We'll also discuss the politics of succession that are especially dominating around the mountain region. My name is Lincoln Obogo. Sign language interpreters tonight are Tracy Dorcas and Teresia Washira. Welcome to this special State of the Nation discussion.
We know that there are certain times where some political practice comes with some sympathy addiction. You know, the sympathy addicts who will look for sympathy over anything. And we have watched that sympathy addiction around the country where, people draw sympathy over everything, and so on.
Waliongeza ingine kidogo ambaye sio yangu, pengine nitawasaidia. Kwa sababu kwa properties 10 waliandika, about 70% ni true, ile ingine si ukweli. Kama ile wanisema ati mimi niko na 10,000 acres huko ya ADC, mimi sina. So hiyo waende watoe.
Na mimi nimesema kama hiyo shamba ni bure hivyo, hiyo ya ADC na haina mtu, si upatie hii waraia waende wagawe waishi huko.
Joining us to have this discussion, we have security expert George Musimali on Zoom to help us break down the security situation of the Deputy President. We also have a Nairobi Member of County Assembly, Mary Arivize, Baringo County Assembly Member Silas Tachim, and Nurdin Kagai, a lawyer. Shall we, Nurdin?
Yeah.
The members of County Assembly will be joining us shortly. Yeah. Nurdin, do you think the DP deserves 257 security officers, the highest number, they say, from independence?
First and foremost, I believe that he has a right to be protected. Let's start from there. And that right for his protection, he should not beg for it, because courtesy of being the number 2 in the country, God forbid if something happens to the president, that shows you the rank he has in the country. Now, I believe this is an opportune moment to, we lost this moment the other time when we were talking about if leaders need to have education qualifications. Now, we moved from that topic and started talking about how it's not important. The bigger topic we should have focused on is our education system, how to make sure that the education system is actually accessible to every single child in Kenya. Now, let's bring this home. I think it's time we talk about the deployment of security officers to our VIP and VIPs.
Yes.
Because if he, the number 2, has 257, obviously the president has more. And we saw his, there are 2 camps. Matiang'i comes from one camp and he has his people. So his people, there were other posts going around, right? So if those numbers are true, then we are focusing on the wrong places. Because at the end of the day, we have areas like the ASAL areas that are paramount to things like terrorism attacks, And we need to talk about what is sufficient security. You see, because the law is also silent on that, because we need to know how many do you need. Because I believe 257 is on the higher side.
Nurdin, one police officer to 448 Kenyans, number 1. And then the law has no capping on the number of security personnel that are supposed to protect a VIP or a VVIP. In this case, we're talking about the Deputy President. Yeah. Why is 257 a fuss?
The funny thing is that when you look at the UN, it says it should be 1 police officer to 450 people. Ours is 1 to 600. That is a problem. So our leaders, or the VVIPs and VIPs, we need to have a holistic discussion and realize what is sufficient. Because I believe, when we just pinpoint one person and say he has this without looking at what the others have, that brings a problem. Because I am sure there is no he'd have 257, the rest don't have anything close to that, and they would be okay with that. We are in a funny situation right now, where he is in government by virtue of the constitution, but he's in opposition courtesy of politics. And that's why all these things are coming out right now, because it's been 9 years. until 10 months to the election is when we are getting this information. So the sad
What do you read from that?
Obviously, in politics, nothing happens by sheer chance or coincidence. I think this was a game plan from the withdrawal of the GSC officers. I believe those who drafted this scheme knew that the interior CS will be sound. And then, because when he was summoned, nobody expected him to come and say what things he came to say yesterday. Listing properties, you know. So at the end of the day, there are rumors and murmurs out here that we have our leaders, their personal properties have been taken care of by officers who we as taxpayers pay. And if that is true, it is sad and it should not happen. Because I'm pretty sure he's not the only one. So since we've opened this Pandora's box, I think we should go deeper and talk about the deployment of security officers.
How deeper, Ruto?
As deep as it can be.
To MCAs now, because MCAs also have protection.
There is no issue with you getting protection. Now the issue comes with that protection extending to your personal property or private property, because we can't guard private property. That is why we have G4S. That's why we have Alta-Reda, because they also need business. So if you want security in your private business, focus on private firms. That's what I believe. And I believe, this is why I'm saying this, it is not just him, for sure. So we need to have a holistic discussion on where we deploy these officers. If it is for you and your immediate family, you see, you, the leader, your wife, and family, that's fine. But if it goes to personal properties, which I believe happens to most of the top guys in politics in this country, then we need to have this conversation.
But no, then the question is, who deploys them?
That's a funny question.
Doesn't this order come from the top?
Where's the top?
The IG answers to...
Is the IG independent?
Interior, if not independent.
You know, the sad reality is that, why after 9 years? It's politics, most definitely, which is very sad. You know, we should not mess around with this security. That's number one. Or any other leader security. Because you see, anyone elected to office needs to be guarded, because that is your representative, right? So when you mess with their security, that brings a problem. Because nobody wants to go to a by-election courtesy of losing an elected member of parliament out of recklessness, right? But at the same time, they should not misuse opportunities that they have. Okay, that's why I'm saying, since they've opened this Pandora's box on deputy president, let's talk about also the presidency. You know, the presidency is him and the president, right? Let's talk about the president. Obviously, he is more or less secretive courtesy of his security, they'd say that. But if he has any property that is manned by officers paid by taxpayers, it shouldn't happen. That, like I told you, we have G4S, Alta-Reda. Those guys need business. So go contact them, and most of them own those companies. So contact them so that they take care of your private business. Every single leader that is actually misusing, because now that is abuse of power. The moment you deploy a police officer, a well-trained police officer, and it takes a lot of taxpayers' money to train someone, and then you deploy them to your private property, that is wrong. And that is why I believe we are at a point to discuss, to have a national discussion on the deployment and access to police officers that these leaders of VVIPs have. And if it goes beyond what is permissible, and permissible is you and your immediate family, you realize, if it goes beyond that, then it becomes abuse of power.
No, then you're clearly stating that we have politicized this issue of security personnel being deployed to VIPs and VVIPs.
Yeah.
But what does this mean for the country when we politicize such issues of security?
You know, issues of security, we've lost so many leaders in this country, which is very sad. And the sad reality is that we never have conclusive cases that tell us how these people died, you know, and which is very sad. When we put, you know, it is sad that we always say this, that we have politics in everything. But now it comes to security of leaders. Whoever you are, whatever political divide you belong to, you do deserve to have security, because nobody should mess with your security, because you are the courtesy of the people, all right? Be it an MCA, be it an MP, a senator, a governor, or anyone in the presidency. So at the end of the day, that's why we have laws that govern us. And the laws that govern state that there is security for the VIPs and VVIPs. But the same law does not allow excess or abuse. Now, abuse is private property, if you ask me.
Abuse is private property.
Private property is abuse. Or girlfriends, or boyfriends, or boy toys. That is abuse, if you ask me. But your immediate security, is paramount for any leader, whatever rank you belong in, or whatever political divide you are in.
Well, we're glad. Mary Arivisa, thank you for coming.
Sorry for being late.
No problem. At least you're here. Better late than never.
Thank you.
Mary, do you think the DP deserves 257 security officers? Nurdin says, well, when it comes to his personal protection, it's okay. But when it comes now to other things like his private property, that's abuse of office.
For me, he needs to be protected. The only thing is now I'm hearing there is a difference when you're being manned by administration, police, and GSU, and so on. And what I have been made to understand is that the GSU only mans the president
alone.
The
presidency.
The president alone. And so I think those what I see, the number is too high for really. For me, it should not over-exceed where we over-deploy our police officers. What is this that we are hiding by having too many people protect us?
You think there's something that's being hidden?
I'm asking a rhetorical question, because I have seen this lady, the chancellor, they call them chancellors in German, go shopping by herself. What is this in Kenya that we do, that we have had to have very heavy security with us?
But
I've seen the Prime Minister of England.
At the county assembly level being protected as well.
The Prime Minister of England, he takes actually the train with the rest of the people. So we really need to re-evaluate, we ourselves as leaders. What is this that we have to protect ourselves very heavily from our citizens?
The citizens that you serve.
Yes. So I'm not against them being protected, but what is this that we need to be overprotected?
I think Nurdin wants to clarify something that you say, Mary, and you said that the GSU is supposed to protect only the president. Nurdin.
No, actually, the GSU protects the president and the deputy president.
Presidency.
You see, it's the presidency. And when you talk about presidency, there's the two of them. They're joint. You realize the only one, the DP doesn't get protection from the army. All right, but he gets protection from the GSU. That they share. All right, the number will vary, of course, but he has the law states that he needs to protect by the GSU. You know, and that is, people forget, and that's why I'm saying this. People forget because of the political tension we are in. They forget that even though you hate the man, remember there's an office he occupies, and so the office that a person occupies needs to be respected. All right, and I just told you, he is the second in command of the country. God forbid if something was to happen to the president, that is when you realize his importance. All right. Now, at the end of the day, like she just said, you know, the funny thing about African leaders, they love this VIP traffic, VIP lift, VIP life. In everything, they rarely meet the common man unless they're seeking votes. And that is why some of them are always in cars that are tinted. Okay? They don't want to be disturbed by the voter that queued in the morning to vote for them. This reminds me of, there's a member of parliament from South Africa who came to Kenya, and he spent his day with Isaac Mora, a nominated senator. And he said he's a member of parliament in the wrong country, because a member of parliament in Kenya has a researcher, a social media handler, has a PA, has a driver, has a cheska, has a car given as a grant. And so those are excesses that you don't need. You realize? It is sad that even members of parliament that we have, some of them don't even know how to type. They have to have people who do that for them. So at the end of the day, there is so much largesse that we see in these offices. And we need to come back to a situation where we reduce, because these are the things that we talk about, the excesses. How are you going to take mind to the people when you waste most of the money making some few people beyond comfortable? Yes,
Arivisa is a legislator. Maybe she can tell us what we are supposed to do. Arivisa.
We don't have to have excess. I feel that
you agree that we have excess.
Compared to the police officers we have in the country, vis-a-vis the number they protect, it's very low. The ratio of the police officer to the number they protect in this country, it's very low. What I mean is, we have, compared to other countries, the police officer protects more people than than many other countries. So it's very sad that we should have one person having over 250 something police officers. What I see is when he's in a presence in a particular home, should have probably somebody or one or two guarding. But when he's there, then the presence can be beefed up. But I think it is wrong for us to put police officers in every kiosk somebody has for themselves.
Now, CS Matiang'i broke down
Yeah.
the security detail of the president. He said, these are superintendent, these are corporal, you know, these are senior police officer. Is that right? To break down.
It's,
You know, the television.
I believe, to some extent, security is paramount. I saw they talked about the 3 layers. That in itself is actually, it's not safe, because you're actually putting out what protects him.
What and who?
Exactly, and
Yes.
who. So if anyone was to harm you from outside, let's go outside, because Kenya, we have battles even in Somalia, where armies in Somalia, right? If someone was to plan anything, okay, so they now know your security and how it works. What is so hard for them to plan against you? So at the end of the day, I believe he had some political points he wanted to score, which he did, okay? Which he did, which is fine, which is fine for him, because at the end of the day, we're in a political season, we're 10 months to the election, so he did what he had to do, all right? That's why I'm saying we have to respect the officers well. I don't believe setting out how the officers work is actually sane, because at the end of the day, next time there will be a new deputy president, all right? So will they feel safe? Okay.
I revisit lips of Bunny. She wants to say
Bunny.
something.
Bunny. Who invited Matiang'i? Who started all this fiasco? It's having, there is a guy in the Bible called Rehoboam. After the son of Jesse, Solomon had passed away, Israel was now facing a divide up. And there was Rehoboam and Jeroboam. And one of them, who was legitimately supposed to have been the ruler, invited his colleagues, and they said, the people of Israel gathered and said, hey, your father has overtaxed us. What are you going to do? And the young men said, tell them you are going to even do it more harder. And they went to the people of Israel and said, we are going to do it harder. And that is how the kingdom of Israel divided into 2.
Are you justifying wrongs?
The point I'm bringing is,
they're wrongs.
the point I'm bringing is, have good friends who can give you good advice. Not just blurting out everything, because the people that made Honorable Fred Matiang'i the cabinet secretary for Interior, is because people went out crying, oh, if they had kept quiet, because those guys are also with guns and they're well. I don't think anybody in their good sense would like our vice president to be harmed. But the friends went, oh, yeah, he's going to be, So the parliament, and in legislative arm of the county government of Nairobi, when we summon a person in a committee, the person has to appear. And the person has to give us the right figures. So what Matiang'i did was to give the right information that he was being asked. Suffice to say, what he's saying is true. It's not right for the friends of the deputy president to have really made this a political issue, because it's a security issue of an officer in the government, which should be taken very seriously. But when they make it to become a whore and a cry until the parliament has to call people to explain it to the public, I agree with him. It isn't a good thing. But there was nothing Honorable Matiang'i would have done. He was summoned, he had to appear. In fact, if he doesn't appear,
answers the way he gave them.
Yes, and he should give it in detail.
Thank you,
in
Mary.
fact, right now we know all the.
After this short commercial break, we come back. The conversation continues shortly. Keep on tweeting, keep on SMSing on 1114411, Switch TV Kenya, Lincoln Mbogo, on all social media handles. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Taping Point. I'm Lincoln Wambogo. We have in studio Mary Arevisa, Nairobi MCA, and Nurdin Kagai, a lawyer, to help us unravel some of the mysteries and things going on in the security sector. where the Deputy President, has been facing a lot. A change in guard from GSU to AP to being, revealing, CS Matiang'i revealing that he has 257 security personnel guarding him. Now, tonight we ask on our question of the day, do you think the new IEBC officials will conduct a free and fair election? Do you think the new IEBC officials will conduct a free and fair election? Send in your feedback through our SMS line, 111 Switch TV Kenya, and a link on number 1 on social media handles. Mary and Nuruddin, the Deputy President has sold himself as a hustler. Well, yesterday, CS Matiang'i spilled the beans on the Deputy President's multi-billion investments. Do you think these will have an impact on the hustler narrative? Maybe, perhaps, Nuruddin.
In politics, they say negative or positive publicity is still publicity. So he rolled with it today. And what he said today about the hustler narrative, he said, according to him, the hustler narrative has never been about the class, whether you're poor or rich, because he himself is not poor. All right? Those were his words. And so he said the hustler narrative is about how hardworking you are. All right? When you wake up in the morning to go and try make a living. So according to him, the hustler narrative that he leads, all right, is not about being poor or rich. It's about how hardworking you are to improve your status from here to here. If you own a bale of clothes, let's say 1 or 2, how are you going to get to 4? That is what he defined as hustler narrative. How it works out depends on the damage that might have been done yesterday. Because I believe, sadly, in Kenya, our politics is all about euphoria. There are people who you'll never tell them anything about Raila Amolo Odinga, they'll never change their mind. There are people who will never tell them anything about Uhuru Kenyatta, there are people who will not tell anything about William Ruto. They have decided, and once people decide, you can't sway them. At the end of the day, we are yet to see what impact Matiang'i had after yesterday. So it's
what
still...
What do you mean? What impact?
Because you see now, by them publishing what he owns, yes, or rather putting it out in the open, they were trying to kill the fact that he calls himself a hustler or destroy that narrative. But now he's come out and said that it's not a... I have never said it's a class war. Politics, it is the art of bringing whatever is thrown at you, how you package it. And so he has packaged himself saying that it's not about being rich or poor. Now, it depends on the other side. Now, you see, the other side has to prove that he has been leading a class war. And if they can't do that, he runs away with it. And that is politics.
Could you define what he has been meaning by dynasty versus hustler? In the light of
let me play the devil's advocate.
Okay.
I know where she's coming from. There's a saying in politics where when the dog barks, don't go after the dog, go after the master. Now, in this context, the ones who have been saying the dynasty thing are different from him. He said he has never said anything about dynasty. All right? But now, that brings you back to the question of why do you associate yourself with those who have said about the dynasty? Now, he said today that if I start a class war, I'm the first casualty because you guys will eat me up because I happen to be affluent. All right? So I believe we're actually on the wrong course. Because if you ask me, for example, we're talking about 2022. We need to talk about how we are going to recover our economy, if you ask me, all right? He has come up with a bottom up, all right? The opponents have come up with something different. They've said mashinani, rural, whatever. You realize? At the end of the day, we need to have a holistic discussion how we are going to solve the impending debt, how we are going to improve the lives of the common man, all right? So whoever does that, whoever is able to package that to the people, then leads the people at the end of the day, all right? Because at the end, let us not focus so much on petty issues like withdrawal and redeployment, and forget that 2022, we made choices. And I'll give you an example. Nairobi County right now is crying, all right?
We are no longer crying.
No, we are crying. As residents, we are crying because now the county decides it wants to execute parking fees in estates. That is ludicrous. I don't know what she thinks about that. That is ludicrous, right? That shows you the leadership that we have. And that is courtesy of the leaders that we put in place. So we need to have a discussion. I've seen so many young men and women saying there, fagia wote, but you can't just say fagia wote and leave a vacuum, all right? You have to also be part and parcel of that discussion. So if you ask me, we need to talk about how we are going to change the lives of the people. That needs to be at the forefront, all right? This petty politicking takes us nowhere because you're wasting time.
Mary.
It's not petty. It's been very clear that the deputy president and his young followers, his friends that would still bring that narrative, they have been very clear that there is a dynasty versus hustler. And he presented himself as the chief hustler. It has been in the public domain, it has been there. What it is, for him to change minds, well, it's a political tactic, but it's only a person that doesn't have sense, because sometimes masses are treated like they don't have sense. But it is very clear that the person that has been leading the narrative with his followers, that he's a hustler, has got several choppers in hangar, which are being protected by police officers. The person that is giving our children wheelbarrows has got choppers, you know. It doesn't even go with the whatever, matatu or whatever vehicles only. He has got several ranches, including some in Taita Taveta that were supposed to have been for criticals. They were transferred into him by buying. So the whole idea is, I'm really appealing especially to our young men and women. This bottom up, there is nothing like bottom up. Hard work pays. I believe in hard work. God will bless the work of your hands. But for people who have used the very system, at least I was around in 1992, and I know how people published some 500 notes that made the inflation to hit the roof, and the chief hustler was part of that group. And so if that is what is going to be bottom up, I'm sure in the Bible there is only one people who turned the world upside down, and those guys didn't go up bottom up, they turned the world upside down. It means you dismantle everything that has ever been set and you build a new order. In this particular case, people that have not really hustled, people that have used tenderpreneurship, people that give sons and daughters and cronies tenderpreneurship, people that, for instance, I know for sure, when President Uhuru Kenyatta came in with our deputy president, there was a 50-50 sharing. I can assure you that President Uhuru Kenyatta shared his 50% across the country. Our deputy president shared only amongst his own personal people from Rift Valley, which is very unfortunate. For me, as another person from the other community, I wouldn't give him my vote, simply because this country has got more people than his view and his focus. And so, Matiang'i did not do anything wrong. He did a very good thing so that he can bring to people the fact that they are not mishandling the deputy president.
Mary,
yes,
talking about what Matiang'i did and what Matiang'i did not do. Nordin seems to be of the opinion that Matiang'i was settling political scores in Parliament yesterday. Today, you know, he stated all the multi-billion investments that the deputy president has, and the deputy president has come out to say, don't even own that ranch in Laikipia.
Yeah, we didn't even know he owned Weston until recently.
What are you saying?
Yes, until recently.
In black and white,
because
what are you saying,
it was, at one time we knew it was owned by a Turban Indian, you know, a Singh. And then it turned out now, later on, when things had cooled down, he said it is his. So we are not very sure about that particular one. What we are saying is, I have nothing against our deputy president going for the presidency and everything like that. But I definitely don't want our young men and women to get into a euphoria of thinking there'll be an upside down of deals. I am one of the person, I have worked very hard. I believe in education. Educate a young person. I have young people at the university, and I'm a lecturer of psychology, who now believe in deals. A deal. I'm sure some are joining this bandwagon because they think that we will just be done for a deal and we are through with all our problems. Deals don't work. When you get young people who are not ready to make their hands dirty and they're looking forward for somebody to connect them to a tender, to connect them to do what? No. That kind of wealth goes very fast. And so I want us to work and work very hard. Dubai has turned the way right around. I was privileged to go to Dubai. In 25 years ago, Dubai was a desert. Right now, those guys are just coming out in the evening because it's too hot during the day. The owners of Dubai, who are just about 1 million. But they're having other people working for them. I'm hoping that with the resources and every tree that is grown in Dubai, there are water underground, you know, piped to make sure they are being watered. Here we have rain, we have good soil. I'm hoping that our young people will not refuse to do farming, refuse to do cattle keeping, not cattle rustling, cattle keeping, where they will be able to sell, and our meat is the best, whether it's goat or wherever. Nyama choma all over, we can be able to do exemplary well. But I'm against people just thinking of deals and hoping that out of the deals, they will be able to now join the bandwagon. And this is idealistic.
Mary, just
one second. Idealism, young people at university level, because of their age, they are very idealistic. As soon as they join the entrepreneurship, they just disappear into the thin air. We don't see them still fighting for justice. I believe in justice and righteousness, but we have to stay when we are at the university level, fight for justice, and when we go into politics, in Nairobi, I'm hoping you'll be one of the people who will lead there, or even at a higher level at the National Assembly. When you arrive there, we want to see change. We don't want you to join, and as soon as you hit the jackbox.
Mary, let me cut you short. Talking of deals today, Raila Odinga met professionals from Meru region, and the professional seems to want to cut a deal with Raila Odinga. They told Raila Odinga, give us development, perhaps we could give you votes. Do you see this seeing the light of day?
That's not a deal. It's people being able to tell their leader what are their interests.
Do you think it's time Mount Kenya supported Raila Odinga?
Very much so.
Why?
They have supported, Luos have supported them, including his father, Jaramogi Oginga. In fact, I was watching a clip where he says that unless, not Uhuru Kenyatta, but Jomo Kenyatta is released from jail, we will not have independence. Those are great people. And so it is just not a matter of the Kikuyus of Mount Kenya supporting Raila Amolo Odinga. It is actually looking at this country that it has got all of us, and anybody can be a president. And I think that's what I want. Turkana one of these good days to be a president of Kenya. I do not want the big tribe to think because of their numbers they can bully people everywhere and they just keep producing. And let me say it here, please. Not because I'm tribal, but I think the last 60 years have been manned by our people from Central and Rift Valley, and we know where the economy of the country is as we reach these general elections. So why don't we give somebody else to just try it out?
Will they see the light of day, Newton?
First and foremost, let me just speak it from where she stopped.
Okay, okay.
There's a very good prayer she said for me. Allow me to tell her that as we sit here right now, and as I sip my cup of coffee or mug, I have decided to vie for the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, come 2022, as a young man. Now, allow me to play the devil's advocate. Allow me to play the devil's advocate, okay?
Yes.
She's talked about the youth, all right? How they should not go into deals, how they should focus on education and whatnot. Now, since we're in the season of reggae, you know, Kenya says what people talking about reggae so much. I'll give her a song from Richie Spice, a line from a song. He says, if education is the key, why are the bigger heads making it so impossible for we? All right? And I'll refer you to the CBC. The current CBC that is actually right now a crisis. When you look at the youth of today, for example, she said we should focus on being herders and whatnot. You see, things change, times change, all right? The youth of the 80s, the 90s, 2000 are different, all right? Right now we're in a digital market, okay? The youth are where they are. They're disillusioned because the leaders that are there have failed them. When someone is campaigning, they know that these people, either when they come to see me, they talk about how they would want you as a leader when you get into office to improve their talents. For example, some play football, all right? And you promise them heaven and deliver nothing. You have failed them. They become disillusioned. Some of them would like to have a better film industry, all right? Why can't we, because we are a country that keeps copying, why can't we go and copy because we love doing benchmarking? I'm sure she would understand that, okay? Why can't we actually go and look at what did Bollywood do, Nollywood or Hollywood to get to where they are? Because the artists there are earning money. So the youth are at a point where, for the first time in this country, they want to take part or engage in this discussion, that they want to feel that they are part and parcel, because for years and decades, they have been the menu on the diet. Now they want to join the political table, and it's causing friction. Everyone is angling for the youth. I'll tell you for free. The other day you saw Jimmy Wanjigi using Eric Omondi to launch his campaign courtesy of the youth. So everyone is fighting for the youth. And everyone is trying to package himself or herself in a way that they will call the youth. But the youth this time around are smarter than people think. Because we will go where we believe we will attain what we want. Because at the end of the day, the fight that is there right now is a fight for the economic empowerment of the young men of this country. Because they have languished in abject poverty. For years, they have been seduced, misused, and abused. Someone comes, they use you to go and demonstrate. Someone comes, they use you to go past their political nemesis, a political message during nomination. And then when you get arrested, it's between you and your God.
No, allow me to cut you short. Now, even after the courts ruled against the BBI process, Raila Odinga says we can amend some sections of BBI through Parliament. How is this even legal?
You see, first and foremost, I have never supported the BBI, and I'm not about to do it right now. You see, there are things that don't need a referendum. There are things that don't need a referendum at all. And things like the allocation to the counties, youth, the youth fund and whatnot, they can be done at the parliament level. But now, the timing, all right? The timing. You've had all this time to do these things, okay? But now you have to remember that the AG wants to appeal. And we saw Junet and Waweru saying they're going to support the AG. I believe Baba is losing focus with this BBI thing. Because at the end of the day, I didn't say that everything in the BBI is bad. There are some things that are actually good. But they're focusing on non-issues, if you ask me. Because if it goes to the Supreme Court, the same things will come up. One, public participation was flawed. Very true. The MCAs got bribes in form of car grants. Very true. Nobody will dispute that. Civic education was never done. Very true. Nobody will dispute that. Okay? Who exactly leads a popular initiative? The question about the President Bina Wanjiku will arise. All right? So at the end of the day, they're losing focus. The things that need Parliament, the will of the Parliament to go through, that can be done. Like the youth fund and
why youth?
Because at the end of the day, those are the sweeteners. You know, actually, those are among the sweeteners that were used to hoodwink the young men into thinking that this document is about them. If you listen very well to Patrick Yagi, Justice, and I happened to be his student back when I was doing my degree at Catholic University. I'm a very proud student after that judgment. If you listen to him, he said that there are so many sweeteners in this thing to hoodwink most of the people. So at the end of the day, the things that don't need when you look at the Constitution, it tells you about what, there are 10 actually, what needs a referendum. So if it doesn't touch any of those.
Bottom line, Baba is losing focus. Baba is losing focus.
Baba
losing focus.
Baba is not losing focus. I'm a proponent of BBI, but at the same time, I also respect the courts. The judges came out very clearly and stated what it is. But unfortunately, just like what we are just talking about, BBI again became politicized. Instead of it being looked at objectively, that in 2010 constitution making, which I was part of, we said that 80% of that constitution was good and 20% will need some amendment. Now we decided not to do the amendment when there is need. I have already talked about the 50-50 that was shared between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. Where did he think these other people from the other communities would get their share of the national cake? In appointments? In what? This BBI was bringing in, bridging in what was in 2010 constitution, which said that we needed the decentralization of resources as well as power. In this one, power was taken by two people, which predominantly, not all the time, I think the president tried, but our deputy did not. So there are two communities that have eaten almost the whole cake. The other fellows have just been getting some crumbs aside. So BBI was also addressing that other communities must also have a part to play.
Irviza, we have a minute to wind up. I want your final thoughts on the question of the day. Now, with the IBC now being fully constituted, do you think they will hold a free and fair election? In 30 seconds, your final thoughts and note in 30 seconds.
I'm hoping that they will have a free, fair election. However, it was very unfortunate for people to be being sworn in or being taken in, and they are saying they are going to nullify everything else the other IBC commissioners who have been doing. I mean, as a leader, when you take over leadership from your predecessor, and I've been a leader since primary, the thing is, you don't go there to overhaul everything and think that the people who are there did nothing. They may have made mistakes, but I think for them to go there like they are going to do everything that has been, they will meet fighting.
Thank you.
And so we may not get.
Final thoughts?
I believe they have no choice other than to deliver to the people.
They have no choice.
They have no choice, because at the end of the day, what they should focus on, what every one of them should wake up every morning and do is read chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity. That should be their Bible for the next 10 months. Every day, you wake up in the morning, remember, I need to have integrity, so that the will of the people should not be subverted. You should make sure that the people's choices of voice to be heard, if you ask me. Because at the end of the day, the people need to gain confidence in IBC. They have lost the confidence, and they have a Herculean task in trying to make sure that people actually gain trust in IBC. Because going forward, the choice that I make in the morning, when you wake up in the morning to go queue, needs to be respected.
Thank you. Well, I'll just read 2 or 3 feedback from Kenyans. Marion Ochieng says, no, Kenya will always be a corrupt country. It's sad. There's no free and fair election in Africa. Still sad. If they see money, you're to sahau too. Very sad.
Nobody was positive.
Well, the views described on this show are strictly individual views and not portray the views of Switch TV Kenya. The conversation on Tipping Point continues next Thursday from 7:30 to 8:30. I've been your host, Lincoln Obogo. Silent interpreters tonight were Teresia Washira and Tracy Dorcas. Many thanks for watching. Good evening.